I know this is going to sound insane, but I swear someone kept entering my apartment while I was at work, and the worst part? I recognized the pattern. It felt familiar, like whoever was doing it knew me, knew exactly what would bother me. And somehow, they had a key. If you've ever felt crazy because something in your home wasn't where you left it, just wait, because my "something's off" feeling turned out to be dead on. And the truth behind it, yeah, it blew my life up in ways I didn't see coming. So let me tell you what really happened. Look, I'm not the kind of person who jumps to wild conclusions. I'm not the ghosts moved my cup kind of guy. I'm boring, reliable, logical to a fault. I'm the one in the family everybody calls when their Wi-Fi won't connect. I'm the "you're overthinking it" guy. But a few months ago, I learned that sometimes paranoia isn't paranoia. Sometimes it's survival. And the moment I came home and saw that my laptop screen was wiped clean, no bookmarks, no saved passwords, no browsing history, my stomach hit the floor. I didn't delete anything. I never delete anything. I'm a digital hoarder. My wife calls my desktop a crime scene, but that wasn't even the start. The first thing that happened was small, barely noticeable. I remember coming home from work on a Tuesday, nothing special about the day, and the TV remote wasn't where I'd left it. Not on the coffee table. It was on the arm of the couch. And I remember thinking, weird. Maybe my wife moved it this morning. She hadn't. Then, 2 days later, a jar I keep coins and something absolutely nobody touches was open. Not just open. It was turned exactly 90 degrees from where it usually sits. It was such a precise little change that it actually made me laugh. Like, wow, I must be losing my mind in high definition. A week after that, one of my hoodies went missing. Not a random hoodie, my favorite one. The one my wife jokes she'll burn someday because it's so beat up and ugly. I tore the apartment apart. Found everything except that. I'm telling her about it like it's nothing. Haha, looks like I misplaced my hoodie. But I felt this tiny knot tightening in my chest. Because you don't just lose a hoodie in a one-bedroom apartment. But again, I brushed it off. Because brushing things off is what sane people do, right? Then came the files. I have this folder on my laptop where I keep drafts, things I work on during downtime. I opened it one night, and half the files were missing. Completely gone. Not corrupted, not moved, just not there. That's when I started paying attention. And once I started paying attention, everything started getting louder. Objects moved a few inches. A mug in the sink that I swear wasn't there when I left. The faint smell of someone else's cologne in the hallway, something spicy and sharp that I don't use. The worst moment? When I found a towel hanging over the shower rod that wasn't ours. Not ours. Not my brand. Not my wife's. That was the moment I felt my scalp prickle. Because someone had been in our bathroom. Someone comfortable enough to dry their hands. I didn't want to freak my wife out, so I told her a very edited version. I think someone might have come in. Maybe maintenance? She looked at me like I had two heads. Why would maintenance use our bathroom? Exactly. So I did the obvious thing. I called building management and asked if anyone had come into our place for repairs, inspections, anything. They said no. No work orders. No scheduled visits. Nothing. The next step was the police. I felt stupid doing it, like I was wasting their time. But disappearing clothes and erased files aren't exactly quirky apartment issues. The officer checked the door, the lock, the frame. He said, "Sir, there are no signs of forced entry." Yeah, no kidding. Are you sure you're not misplacing items? Stress can. I cut him off. Trust me, I know what being stressed feels like. This is not that. He shrugged. If you want, you can install a camera. But without evidence, there's nothing we can really do. And that was that. I didn't sleep for 2 nights. Not because I was scared someone might break in. Because someone didn't need to break in. Someone already had a way in. Someone had a key. The next morning, I set up 2 cameras. One in the hallway facing the door, one in the living room disguised behind a stack of books. Nothing fancy, just enough to tell me if my imagination had filed a police report. Then I waited and waited. 3 days. Nothing. On day 4, something happened. But not on camera. Whoever was coming into my place wasn't stupid. They knew where people usually put cameras. They knew how to avoid sightlines. Or maybe they were just lucky. I came home, checked the footage, and the door camera showed nothing except a weird flicker around noon. Like someone walked past the peephole but didn't come in. But the living room camera caught something I didn't expect. Not the intruder. Me, walking out of frame. Except I wasn't home. The clip glitched a duplicate frame from earlier in the week. I didn't know whether that meant the camera malfunctioned or someone tampered with it. But the timing made my skin crawl. My wife thought I was spiraling. I thought I was, too. Until one night, as I'm trying to fall asleep, she goes, "Wait, this is going to sound crazy, but do you think it could be your cousin?" I froze, because I hadn't even thought of that. His name is Evan. We aren't close, but we used to be, before everything got messy. Before the kind of family drama you only hear whispered at reunions. Before he stopped talking to me altogether. 3 years ago, my wife and I got married. Before we were ever together, Evan had a thing for her. Nothing dramatic teenage crush stuff. Maybe a little more than that, because when we started dating, he pulled away. When we got engaged, he stopped coming to family events. At the wedding, he sat in the back row, didn't talk to us, and left early. I always assumed he'd moved on, but the idea of him having an old key, that made an uncomfortable kind of sense. He lived with me briefly, 5 years ago. I'd given him a spare. I thought I took it back, but maybe I didn't. Or maybe he made a copy. Still, I tried not to jump to that conclusion, because who does that? Who enters someone's home years later just to, what? Move their remote? Steal a hoodie? It was ridiculous, until it wasn't. 1 week later, I found a photograph on my kitchen counter. One I didn't put there. It was a picture of me and my wife at her graduation, smiling, arms around each other. And on the back, in handwriting that wasn't mine, "You took everything." I felt sick. I didn't show it to my wife at first. I needed to make sure my suspicion wasn't just some grief-stricken imagination. So the next morning, I drove to my aunt's house, Evan's mom. This is where things started to unravel. I asked her how Evan was doing. She got very quiet. Then she said something that hit me harder than anything up to that point. "He's been struggling. He talks about the past a lot. He still brings up your wife sometimes. I don't think he's over it." Then I asked the question I didn't want to ask. "Does he still have the old key to my apartment?" Her lips tightened. She didn't answer, but silence is an answer. When I left her house, I wasn't thinking straight. My heart was pounding. My entire body felt wired. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. That night, I moved the living room camera. I put it somewhere even I couldn't see, unless I looked for it mounted inside a hollow decoration on our bookshelf. I angled it toward the hallway instead of the living room, just in case someone came through without stepping into the frame. Then I left the apartment earlier than usual the next morning. 2 hours later, sitting in my car a block away, I got a notification. Motion detected. My blood turned to ice. I opened the live feed. Nothing. Just the apartment. Still. Quiet. Then I heard it, a faint sound in the audio. Metal against metal. A lock clicking. The door opened, and a man walked in. He wasn't wearing a mask. He wasn't dressed in black. He wasn't creeping around like a burglar. He walked in like someone returning home, like someone who belonged there. And it was Evan, my cousin, the guy who hadn't spoken to me in years. He scanned the apartment, closed the door, and locked it behind him. Then he did something that made my skin crawl even more. He sighed. This relieved, almost peaceful sigh, like being in my home, comforted him. He walked around, picked things up, put them down, went to the kitchen and opened my fridge. He didn't take anything, just looked. Then he walked to the hallway, paused at my bedroom door, and stared at it for a long time. Then he reached toward the knob, and I swear I felt my heart stop. I couldn't watch anymore. I jumped out of my car so fast I nearly sprained my ankle. I ran the whole block, sprinting harder than I've sprinted since high school. When I reached the building, my hands were shaking so badly I fumbled the keys. When I finally got inside, I didn't even think. I just kicked the door open, and there he was, standing in my hallway, holding one of my shirts, like he was deciding where to put it. We locked eyes. He froze, and then he smiled, not a friendly smile. A quiet, unsettling, I've rehearsed this moment smile. He said, "You're home early, like we were roommates, like everything that had happened was normal." I wasn't angry. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't even scared at that point. I was numb. "What are you doing here, Evan?" He looked down at his hands. "I just wanted to see what your life looks like." His voice cracked. I thought it would make me feel better. Everything inside me twisted: the confusion, the betrayal, the disbelief. But why break in? Why move things? Why erase my files? Why a picture with that message? And he said something I'll never forget. "I wanted to remind you that you don't deserve what you have." It felt like someone punched me in the chest. He put the shirt down, slowly, carefully, like it belonged somewhere specific. "I thought she would choose me." His voice was shaking now. "Everyone thought she would, but she chose you, and you didn't even do anything special to earn it." That's when my anger finally rose hot, sudden, sharp. But before I could say anything, he added, "I wasn't trying to hurt you. I just needed you to feel what I felt, to lose things, to be unsure, to question yourself." And that messed me up more than anything he did in the apartment, because he meant it. He truly believed he deserved to be inside my home. He believed I took something from him. He believed this invasion was some kind of poetic justice. I called the police. He didn't fight. He didn't yell. He didn't apologize. He walked out with them like he'd been expecting this. Later, I found out from the officers that he'd been going through some serious mental health issues, and hearing that made me feel conflicted, guilty, angry, compassionate, exhausted. I also found out he admitted everything. The missing hoodie, he took it because it smelled like my life. The erased laptop data, he deleted anything with my wife's name in it. The rearranged items, to make him doubt himself. That's a direct quote. I changed my locks, changed my routines. For a month, every time I came home, I checked the cameras. Every night, I double-checked the door. It's been a while now. Things have calmed down, but it still hits me sometimes that someone who used to be close to me, someone who sat at the same holiday dinners, someone who once called me his best friend, crossed a line so deeply personal it's hard to explain. And the truth is, I still don't know how to feel about him. But I do know this. If something feels off in your home, don't ignore it. Sometimes the scariest intruders aren't strangers. They're the people who already know the way in. And that's my story.